good afternoon to all of you. Today I discuss a very important topic, that is the lipid, which I earlier also discussed, and in our previous lecture we do have completed the introductory part of the lipid, and we also discussed some of its characteristics in our earlier classes. But today I will move on further, and we do discuss the various important characteristic of the lipids and its role in maintaining the normal physiology of the human body. So before moving further, I do here discuss again a brief regarding the introductory part of the lipid. And as per a general definition, the lipid is nothing but a biomolecule or a biological molecule. And the very typical characteristic which is present with the lipid is it is either waxy, it is either oily, or it is having a greasy like nature. So this is a very typical characteristic which is generally present with the lipid. And as I said, that lipid is a biological molecule. So what does it mean, or what it depicts? It depicts that lipid is generally present in plants and also in animals, as well as the lipid can be extracted from them also. So what I mean here to say that lipid is a biomolecule, or lipid is a biological molecule, or lipid is a biological in origin, the mean here is that the lipid can be obtained from all these two sources, which are itself are biological in origin, the plants as well as the animal. So the lipid is itself gets synthesized within a biosystem, and also although it is a biomolecule do present in the biological system, but certain lipids can be well synthesized in a lab also. So this is a very brief regarding a very brief definition regarding the lipid. And once we look into its characteristic, the lipid is very unique in its characteristic or in its feature. So I here discuss the two very important characteristic feature of the lipid. Is the very first one, the lipid is heterogeneous in its nature. The very first one, the lipid is heterogeneous in its nature. This is the one characteristic of lipid. The another characteristic of the lipid is it itself consists of wide variety of chemicals or wide variety of organic entities or the molecule. So these two are one of the most well established and the known characteristic of the lipid. So let us discuss one by one what are ultimately these two renowned characteristics of the lipids are, or why I am saying that lipid is heterogeneous in the nature. The very first thing, the lipid is heterogeneous in the nature, and the another thing which I am stating here is that the lipid consists of a very wide variety of organic entities or the chemical entities or molecules. So what my mean here to say that lipid is consists of, or it is a heterogeneous in composition, is that the lipid, once we look into the structure of any lipid, or when we look into the structural composition of the lipid, we ultimately came across that the lipid is made up of numerous elements, and it is not made up of any single element. So beside, although the lipid do contains the carbon, as it is an organic entity, it do contain a carbon, but beside this carbon, the lipid also contains the hydrogen as well as the oxygen. So once we look into the elemental composition of the lipid, we do came across, or we do ultimately we know that lipids consist of different elements in a different proportion. And this makes the lipid as a heterogeneous molecule. Because why I'm saying that lipid is a heterogeneous molecule, or it is a heterogeneous entity, this is because the lipid itself contains certain heteroatom along with the carbon. It do contains, although the lipid do contains the carbon, but beside carbon or in addition to carbon, the lipid do also contains the heteroatom, for an example oxygen and the hydrogen. So this ultimately makes the lipid as a heterogeneous in the nature. Now, second thing which I here stated, that lipid consists of a very wide variety of structural structural pattern or wide variety of molecule. So this ultimately means once we move further, or once we as we will move further in our lecture, we do know that lipid itself a class, lipid itself is a very broad class, and it do contains the numerous molecules which are differs themselves in a broad range of structures. And uh, some of the examples which I will quoted in the lipids, you may be very much maybe or may not be familiar with it, but all these particular examples which I will quote it further, or which ultimately we will study further, will be are ultimately be quoted under the lipid. So why I'm saying that lipid is a very wide in the structural pattern, or it contains a very wide variety of organic molecules. This is because the lipid itself is a broad class, and it do contains the chemical entities which belongs to the different classes, but they are be quoted in the lipids. So these two unique features makes the lipid important, not only from its physiological point of view, but also its from its chemical point of view. So if I just give an example, that lipid can be obtained from the plant, or the lipid can be well synthesized in the plant. So what does it mean? So this means that lipid do have certain function in the plant also. Although earlier I discussed that the lipid have a very physiological role in the human body, but I here also conceptualize how the lipid is also important from the point of view of plant. So if I say that if I enumerate, or if I speak out the different importance of lipid in the plant, so the very first thing, the lipid, which I said that it is a greasy like material, or it is having a greasy nature, or it is a waxy like nature. So you might have noticed that certain leaves have a very waxy coating on its surface, and when any drop of water gets be spread on it, it usually gets washed off. And this is due to the presence of this waxy coating of the lipid, which ultimately helps, or which ultimately prevents the retention of the water on the surface of leaf. Now, as further, the lipid is also act as a source of energy. The lipid is also act as a somewhere it is also act as a defensive mechanism. And in certain biological structures, beside from the plant, or beside from the plant, if I speak out, it is also present in somewhere, some in the cell membranes also. So these are some of the important aspects of the lipid which are ultimately be present in the nature. So as I said, that lipid is a biological molecule. Now this definition or this particular thing is too correct once we look the lipid from one dimension. But however, when we do look into the lipid from the chemistry point of view, we can correlate the lipid as a lipophilic molecule, and this also we get confirm from its name also. So, as per its name, as it is quoted as lipid. So lipid also indicates a lipophilic molecule. So what is the meaning of this lipophilic molecule? The meaning of this lipophilic molecules means the lipophilicity, or the lipophilic molecules mean the molecule which is having an affinity for the lipid or affinity for the substances which are non-polar in the nature. So this particular property of lipid, or this particular statement that lipid is lipophilic in nature, and this lipophilicity of the lipid, or the lipophilic characteristic of the lipid, it further govern the two very main things. The very first one is the lipid remains insoluble in the polar solvent. And the second characteristic is the lipid remains soluble in the polar solvent. So this lipophilicity, that is, the lipid is a lipophilic like molecule, or the lipid possesses the lipophilicity. This lipophilicity ultimately further governs the two important characteristics of the lipid.
Hello,
Very first
sir.
one, which I discussed, that lipid is a molecule which generally dissolve in a non-polar solvent, and the lipid is further, once it is able to dissolve in a non-polar solvent, simultaneously the lipid is able to dissolve in a, I'm sorry, the lipid is not dissolved in the polar solvent. Please be very much careful. The lipid has a lipophilic characteristic, and on the basis of its lipophilicity, the lipid remains insoluble in the polar solvent, and the lipid gets dissolved in the non-polar solvent. So the lipophilicity ultimately governs the two important characteristics of the lipid. The very first one is the lipid remains insoluble in the polar solvent. For an example, water. When we dissolve the water, the lipid won't get solubilized. And when we dissolve the lipid in a non-polar solvent, for example, in a ether or in a chloroform, the lipid do gets itself get dissolved. So this ultimately justify the lipophilic characteristic of the lipid. Now the question arises here, why the lipid get dissolved in non-polar solvent, and why the lipid remains insoluble in the polar solvent, that is the water. And once I will quote this particular thing by taking an example, that if we try to dissolve the lipid in the water, it won't get dissolved. And when we try to dissolve the lipid in any non-polar solvent, that is the chloroform or ether, the lipid do get dissolved. So the reason behind this particular solubility phenomenon is itself the unique structural feature of the lipid. So as the lipid consists of long carbon chain, and this long carbon chain is ultimately providing the hydrophobic characteristic to the lipid. So this is a particular reason, or this is the basic reason why the lipid remains insoluble in the water, or it remains insoluble in the polar solvent. So the reason behind it the structure of the lipid which ultimately it is having. So when you will look into any example of the lipid, or when you will look into the structure of any specific lipid, you will just note down there that the lipid molecule consists of a long carbon chain, and the long carbon chain is providing the hydrophobic characteristic to the lipid. And as the number of carbon atoms in the chain gets increases, the hydrophobic character of that particular lipid get increases, and simultaneously the hydrophilic characteristic is also gets reduces. So because of this long carbon chain, the lipid molecule is ultimately be able to get dissolved in the non-polar solvent, and it is unable to get dissolved in the polar solvent. So the thing which the concept which I discuss right now here in case of lipid, this is also a very basic platform when we have to rule out or when we have to study the solubility of any chemical compound. Once we are knowing its structure, whenever we do know the structure of any chemical entity, and on the basis of various functionality it ultimately contains, or the various or the structure of the particular molecule which ultimately is contained, on the basis of its structure and its structural composition, we are able to judge whether this compound is able to dissolve in a polar solvent or whether this particular compound is able to dissolve in a non-polar solvent. So the very example which I have given right now here in the case of lipid. So any molecule which is having a long chain of carbon atom, which containing a very large number of carbon atoms, that molecule is usually get dissolved in non-polar solvent. And in a certain and in another case, when uh, some polar functionality are gets introduced in that particular carbon chain, and as we introduce more and more polar functionality to the carbon chain, its hydrophilic characteristic gets increases, and as the hydrophilic characteristic gets increases, that particular molecule is then now be able to dissolve in the polar solvent. So more the lipophilic characteristic, more the hydrophobic characteristic a molecule have, more easily it gets dissolved in the non-polar solvent, and more the hydrophilic characteristic or the polar functionality a molecule is having, it easily we get solubilized in the polar solvent. So no problem. We will ultimately do further look into the lipids. This is just a basic conceptualization to know how or why the lipid is ultimately will get dissolved in the non-polar solvent, and why the lipid is unable to dissolve in the polar solvent. So this is its solubility or its solubility difference in polar and the non-polar solvent is due to its structural pattern and due to the presence of large number of carbon atom in its core structure. So accordingly, the lipid, as it is a very important biomolecule, a lipid is further is classified on the basis of various dimensions, and these dimensions categorize as well as differentiate one lipid molecule from another. So the three dimensions or the three basic categorization or the classification in which the lipid molecule is differentiated is, the very first one is a lipid can be in a very typical manner or in a very broad sense, a lipid can be categorized as simple lipid or complex lipid, and third is the derived lipid. So a very broad classification of lipid can be done as simple lipid, then complex lipid, and then derived lipid. So these are the three broad classification of the lipid. However, beside this class, the lipid can also be categorized in two another ways also. The two ways are the two further classification of the lipid includes the classification of lipid on the basis of its structure or the chemistry, and the third classification is the classification of the lipid on the basis of its saponification. So these are the three classifications in which a lipid molecule can be categorized. Very broadly, a lipid can be categorized as simple lipid, complex lipid, and derived lipid. This is the first classification, or a first class. This is the very broad classification of the lipid, or a typical classification of the lipid, or a general classification of the lipid. So the very first, which is the general classification of the lipid, this includes the three subclasses: simple lipids, complex lipid, and the derived lipid. This comes under the general classification or the broad classification of the lipid. This is the first class. The second class is classification of lipid on the basis of its chemical structure, or on the basis of the primary functionality it ultimately bears. So here also the lipid can be sub-classified as the lipid which is containing ester-like linkage and the lipid which is devoid of ester-like linkage. This is the second class, classification on the basis of its chemical characteristic or the chemical linkage. So the lipid may contain a ester-like linkage or it may devoid of ester-like linkage. This is the second category. The third classification of lipid can be done on the basis of its saponification, how a lipid ultimately behaves while saponification. So here, on the basis of saponification, a lipid is characterized, or the lipid is classified or sub-categorized as saponifiable or saponized lipid, or non-saponifiable or non-saponized lipids. So these are the three classes of lipids in which we can categorize or classify the lipid accordingly. I do discuss each and every class of the lipid in my upcoming lectures. So let us we further move. But before moving further, I do discuss a very brief regarding this classification. The broad classification of the lipid I will discuss in my upcoming lectures or in my further lecture. But a brief, I do give a very brief regarding the classification which I right now discuss. On the basis of general classification or in a broad classification sense, a lipid can be classified as a simple lipid. Simple lipids means the lipid which contains esters of fatty acid along with alcohol. These are the simple lipids. Simple lipids means these are the molecules which contains the esters of fatty acids along with alcohol. For example, fat and waxes. Then complex lipid. The complex lipid are those lipids which do contain esters of fatty acid along with certain additional functionality with alcohol. For an example, in complex lipid is the glycolipid, phospholipid, etc. Now the derived lipid. So here the derived lipids are the sterols, etc. are ultimately be included in the derived lipid. Then classification of lipid on the basis of its saponification. We have categorized the lipid on the basis of its saponification as the lipids which are able to saponify and the lipids which are not able to saponify. That is the saponifiable lipids and the non saponifiable lipids. So here all the lipids which contains the ester linkage, all the lipids which contains the ester linkage are categorized as saponifiable lipids, and all the lipids which lacks any ester linkage within their core structure, these lipids are ultimately be categorized as non-saponifiable lipid or non-saponified lipid. So this you can see here like right now that this saponification as well as the non-saponification classification of the lipid it's well is itself depends upon the structural characteristic of the lipid. So all the simple and complex lipid are saponifiable. All the simple and the complex lipids are saponifiable. So I do state it right now that these simple and the complex lipids do contain ester linkage along with alcohol in case of simple lipid, and along with certain additional functionality along with this ester as well as the alcohol in the complex lipid. So all the simple as well as the complex lipids are ultimately be categorized or they are classified under the saponifiable lipids. And the lipid molecule which are unable to undergo any saponification are ultimately known as non-saponifiable lipids, and all the lipid molecule which lacks the ester linkage are ultimately be characterized as non-saponifying or non-saponifiable lipids. So for example, the steroids which do come under the lipid are ultimately be categorized as non-saponifiable lipids. Also these esters are also be categorized as derived lipid. So as I'm continuously discussing the lipid, so we do look into the different prospects or the different perspectives of the lipid, and I do here discuss that under the classification that lipid contains the simple or the complex lipid or the saponifiable or the non-saponifiable wherever applicable. I do here discuss that the simple lipids contains the ester of fatty acid along with alcohol, and in complex lipid there also the ester of fatty acid with additional functionalities present along with the alcohol. Also in the saponifiable lipids, I do stated that the saponifiable lipids are containing the ester linkages of the fatty acid. So it is very important here to discuss what the fatty acid is, and I do discuss here. So what does this fatty acid mean? So the fatty acid, when we see from the point of view of chemistry, it consists of fatty acid is nothing but it is a mono carboxylic acid, or fatty acid is a long chain of carboxylic acid. So why I'm saying that fatty acid is a long chain of carboxylic acid, this is because when we are representing the fatty acid, we do represent it as RCOOH. This is generalized representation of the fatty acid. So once we are representing a fatty acid, or when we are denoting the fatty acid, we do represent it as RCOOH, or alternatively it can also be represented as C, O, 2 and H. So by both these things, we can ultimately be able to represent the fatty acid. Now, what does this R means? R indicates the aliphatic functionalities, or R indicates the aliphatic characteristic of the fatty acid. So this R indicates the number of carbon atom that particular fatty acid molecule ultimately contains. And the number of carbon atom in different fatty acids are vary among. So as I stated, that fatty acid is denoted as RCOOH, where the R itself denotes the number of carbon atom that particular molecule is having, and this R, or the number of carbon atom which is present in the molecule, is vary among within its class. So once we are representing a fatty acid as RCOOH, we do here find that the R or the fatty acid itself consists of two different molecules which are ultimately be joined together, or the fatty acid consists of two different parts, not molecule. The fatty acid do contain the two different parts. The one is the R and another one is the COOH. So R, as I said, it consists of number of carbon atom is the R, and the COOH represent the carboxylic functionality. So once we ultimately add both these parts, we get a fatty acid. So likewise, as the fatty acid itself consists of the two different parts, these two parts have their own importance and own characteristic. So the fatty acid do contains a head and a tail. Please be listening very carefully. As I stated here, the fatty acid is represented as RCOOH. RCOOH. Now, if you break the molecule of fatty acid, we will break it as, we will remove R and then we will remove COH. Now we have the two parts. And once these two parts are ultimately be added, we do get RCOOH. Right? Now this RCOOH ultimately makes a molecule which we ultimately be knowing as fatty acid. Now this RCOH consists of two parts. One is the head and another one is the tail. So what is the head and which one is the tail? I will let you know. The COOH is the head of the molecule and the R is the tail. So COOH is the head and R is the tail, and both these parts have its own importance and its unique characteristic. So the fatty acid consists of a lipophilic part as well as the hydrophilic part. The tail, that is the R, which contains the variable number of carbon atoms, is the hydrophobic part of fatty acid. What it is? This is a hydrophobic part of fatty acid. And the COOH group, which is the head, of fatty acid, is a hydrophilic part of that particular molecule. So it is really a very easy to understood the fatty acid once we ultimately know its core structural platform. So the fatty acid itself consists of two different parts: a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. Hydrophilic head is consists of COOH, or the carboxyl functionality, and the R, which contains the carbon atom, and the R, which contains the carbon atom is the tail part of fatty acid. Now, the fatty acid itself has a very unique characteristic, and as we conceptualized earlier, some of under the heading of solubility, why the liquids are dissolves in the non-polar solvent and they are unable to dissolve in the polar solvent, and likewise here in also in the case of fatty acid, as the number of tail carbon atom gets increases, as we are increasing the number of tail carbon atom and more carbon atoms get added into the tail of fatty acid, they ultimately converts or they ultimately gives the hydrophobic characteristic to the fatty acid, and hence the fatty acid is unable to be get dissolved in the polar solvent. However, at the same time, these carbon atoms are ultimately be able to provide the lipophilic characteristic to the fatty acid and makes the fatty acid or allow the fatty acid to get dissolved in the non-polar solvent simultaneously. So there are a certain characteristic of the fatty acids. That is, the fatty acids generally are the straight chain compounds of the fatty acids. The very first characteristic is that the fatty acid is a straight chain compound, and they usually devoid of any branching in their structure. So this is the very first characteristic of the fatty acid, which I am discussing, the R, that fatty acid consists of R tail. So this R tail in the fatty acid, or this the carbon atom which ultimately makes up the fatty acid, are ultimately of, they form the straight chain and they are get in direct contact with the head, that is the COH, and hardly these carbon atoms are ultimately we get branched. So the number of carbon atoms which are present in the fatty acid are vary from 10 to 20 carbon atoms. These are the variable carbon atoms are present in the fatty acid, and usually the fatty acids contain the even number of carbon atoms. Generally, a fatty acid do contains the even number of carbon atoms. Also, the chain which is formed in the fatty acid, it may or it may not contains the double bond. So this is a very important thing which we have to know, that whatever the carbon atoms which are forming a chain in the fatty acid, a straight chain in the fatty acid, these carbon atoms may contains a double bond or they may not contains a double bond. So the fatty acids which contains double bond in their structure is called unsaturated fatty acid. The fatty acid which contains double bond in their structure is known as unsaturated fatty acid, and the fatty acid which lacks any double bond in their structure is known as saturated fatty acid. So generally on the basis of number of double bonds which are present in the fatty acid, a fatty acid may contains a single double bond in its structure, or a fatty acid may contains multiple double bond in its structure, that is more than one double bond in its structure. So once a fatty acid contains a single double bond in its structure or in its core structure, such fatty acid is known as mono unsaturated fatty acid. The fatty acid which contains a single double bond in its structure. It is known as mono unsaturated fatty acid. And the fatty acid which contains multiple double bonds in its structure, it is known as polyunsaturated fatty acid. So accordingly, the how many double bonds are present in the fatty acid? A fatty acid can be a monounsaturated fatty acid or a polyunsaturated fatty acid. The one very important thing which has to be noted, that the fatty acid or the presence of this double bond in the chain of fatty acid is ultimately be responsible, or the fatty acid is generally, due to the presence of such double bond, they have a predominant cis configuration in its structure. Now, what is the role of this cis bonding or cis configuration in the fatty acid? So this type of bonding plays a very important role in the generalized in the general characteristic of the fatty acid, and I will do discuss this particular thing also in my further lecture. But I ultimately here wants to just give a very brief. I just here want to give a very brief discussion right now here, that the fatty acid, this cis-like configuration in the presence of fatty acid, which ultimately gives the fatty acid inflexibility or rigid-like structure, and this ultimately makes it difficult for a fatty acid to be get itself to be packed tightly. So I do discuss these things also in my further lecture. However, as the time is still continuously moving on, and my lecture time is also gets over, so I will do discuss all these things in my in an elaborated form, and I further discuss the chemistry of the fatty acid in my next lecture. If anyhow anyone if anyone is having any problem in my this particular delivered lecture, you can please do let me know by the Google Classroom, or you can do let me know whatever the query you are having right now to my by sending an email. I do help you with your all your queries. And thank you.